Hi, Anthony and Sarah. I know you're both riding 165 centimetre cranks now. I've been thinking about switching to shorter cranks, but I'm getting conflicting advice. Some people say it'll help with endurance and joint fatigue. Others say you'll lose top end power and torque. Is downsizing crank arms smart for endurance riding, or is it just bro science and fear mongering? I don't want to mess up my setup and end up slower.
It's a concern for people. I don't know if the mess with your setup and end up slower is the primary concern. I would say mess with my setup and end up injured is the primary concern. A big consideration for me is just like knowing your body. I've been very resilient through the years historically to changes in setup. I can jump from a training bike to a race bike to a track bike to a mountain bike to a gravel bike to a CX bike. All different positions, all different reaches, all different saddle heights. You try to be as close as you can, but they're all off fractionally. And it never seemed to cause me an issue at all. So when I seen the research, and specifically when I chatted to Phil Burt from Ineos, the physio, around the benefits of a shorter crank, there didn't really seem much downside for me. I was riding 170 cranks on the track on the gravel bike already. So going to 165 wasn't a huge change. It's the same change between my road to gravel bike as it is my gravel bike to my new road bike position. So it wasn't a huge one for me. I think he's overstating maybe some of the downsides and probably not giving enough consideration to injury. I think that'd be the main one I would look at. Like if you're comfortable on your bike already, maybe why change? It's back to the old one that unless you're looking for a marginal gain, like why change? But the considerations that he's mentioned, like the change relating to torque leverage, like there's a shorter crank arm, but in the real world, it's actually pretty irrelevant because you can change your gears. So that kind of offsets that torque requirement when you can shift it up and down the block. Your muscles simply they adapt extremely fast, and you can shift into a slightly easier gear, a slightly harder gear as need be. And then every study I've looked at on crank length, it seems there's a minimum difference in max power on a shorter crank versus a longer crank. The big wins seem to be better comfort at higher power outputs because you're opening the hip flexor angle, opening up your diaphragm in a more closed off, aggressive aero type position to make breathing a little bit easier. And then some people are reporting less fatigue on longer rides because it's loading the joints less. They're the kind of big wins to summarize the conversation with Phil Burt. But my main concern, as I said, is that injury.
So I think it's kind of a caveat to get back into the bike fitter once you change if you do change to shorter cranks.
So,
and don't just kind of eyeball it and make sure you're not getting long-term injured from it. Okay, next question. Hey, Anthony, we're putting a team into a national stage race in a month. It's a 6-day stage race. There are 2 guys out of the 5 that I feel could do really well. I know that you were managing a team at a stage race a few weeks ago, and I wanted to know if you have any advice on how to approach a team with different personalities and different physical strengths, and also change the game plan as things unfold over the few days.
Well, I actually wasn't managing it. One of the lads, Connor Griffin, was. He's the budding DS, and he was brilliant. Really amazing watching someone step into that role who's quite a bit younger than even some of the staff and some of the riders, and he really took to that super well. So I can see him having a little bit of a future in that director role. I was helping out. It was my first time on the other side of the barrier, so it was a little bit strange. Connor doesn't really come from a racing background, so he was able to bring almost like a totally fresh perspective, something that I'd never heard before. The conversations bike riders have are largely been the same conversations bike riders have had for the last 100 years probably, and Connor's brought a totally different perspective. So I learned so much hanging out with him at the weekend. Some of the takeaways for our team that you could kind of give across to this guy were these 2 riders who could do quite well. You can't put pressure on the other guys on the team that they're not gonna be able to do anything to help. If it's a high level stage race that's 6 days, you've 2 riders that can do well. Like, it's not Eurosport. Somebody needs to be almost good enough to win the race, certainly good enough to get a top 20 in the race if they're going to help out. Like the idea of you're going to be riding on the front of the bunch and you're a domestique, Like these guys riding on the front of the bunch at Liège 2 weeks ago, they can all ride 6.5 watts per kilo. So the reality is you can't do that, and your 3 supporting riders can't do that. If you can set smaller goals for them, to get through the stage, to finish in the bunch, or even something a little bit more advanced, like maybe one of them can collect rain jackets someday and bring them back to the car, or they can do bottles one of the days for someone, or position them into a key climb, something like that, so you can frame it so the riders who aren't the GC guys still get to feel like they're a little bit a part of the team. I think the thing is that you see a lot of teams, and I've seen it in Ross Moon, it's a big shift, and maybe it's just spending so many years with great teammates and great riders. I've been kind of blessed coming through like Aqua Blue in Ireland. But you see a lot of teams go into the race, and if they 5 or 6 riders, they just the whole 5 or 6 just try to get through the race. They're all like, we'll suck it up and we'll do our best and we'll all hang in as long as we can. And that's a huge shift from when you're in a better team, and riders will look at the totality of the stage race and they say, okay, stage 2, okay, there's a Cat 2 climb 50k from the finish, and then there's a Cat 1 climb at the finish. I'm not going to win up a Cat 1 climb. I'm not going to be useful to the lads coming into a Cat 1 climb. I'm better off sitting up the Cat 2 climb, preserving my energy because I have a chance to lead out someone or to be effective in the bunch sprint 2 days from now. So they look at that energy expenditure and that distribution of energy expenditure over the totality of the stage race, not a single day. And they're in it for defined goals for the team. It's not about like, we'll all get to the finish and we'll kind of race each other. You came 48th and I came 56th. No one cares if you came 48th or 56th. Can you position your GC guy into the front group at a key time? Like we'd on the Hilltop finish day, we'd one of our young lads, Leo, who's only 18, and he was top 5 U23 GC, which was a good ride for us in a competitive stage race. He had that until the last day when he crashed. But on the 3rd day, the Hilltop finish, we had 2 of the guys who could have went deep into the last climb, but they weren't going to win on the last climb. They weren't going to do they weren't going to do a front group on the last climb. So they just gave everything in support of him to position him into the Cat 2 climb earlier in the stage. And then they pulled up, grabbed the can of Coke from the car and just cruised in easy, as slow as they could to conserve energy, just make the time cut so they can still be there to help the team tomorrow. I think that's important, is to make that shift from you're just a group of lads that happen to be wearing the same jersey to you're a team that has goals and you're all trying to contribute towards that goal.
Yeah, and also it's so much fun. I mean, the crack we had every evening in the house. What I will say is a lot of the teams that we were competing against kind of stayed in Airbnbs and hotels. We rented a big house and we did all of the cooking together, ate together every evening, oh my God, I've never seen or heard. My eyes were like, I was googly eyes listening to team tactics. You do this, I'll do that.
Tobias, the funniest man in the world.
He's hilarious. And then the characters so we had 2 guests from Denmark come and ride for a roadman. And honestly, by the end of the day number 1, it was all like a very team, because everyone still had, as far as I could tell, a lot of fun. And that is also the other thing to try and remember, that, okay, I know that you're talking about it from the other end, like the very super high performance end. Your teams in Aqua Blue, Dan Morrissey, had fun because you guys were organised, you knew what you were doing. So it's... But
I think that's the key point. It's the having fun. But when you get into that internal competition where it's like all 5 guys just like full gas all day, there ends up being this like competitive relationship between all the riders, or all trying to like, I can get ahead of my teammate on GC. It's like, that's not how cycling works. Like, the atmosphere is so much better when you have somebody that feels like they executed their job in support of their teammate that day. Their teammate, even if he doesn't pull off the win, he's so thankful of that, and it just forms a much nicer bond within the team.
Yeah, it was an amazing week at Ross Moon for Roadman, so well done to all those guys. And listener, best of luck in your stage race.
Roadman, whether you're a weekend warrior or a World Tour rider, the right tools can make all the difference. Enter 4i's Precision 3 Plus Powermeter, the latest innovation from 4i, designed to help you reach peak performance. The Precision 3 Plus Power Meter is a compact yet powerful unit. It weighs just 9 grams and it's packed with features that set it apart, including integration with Apple's Find My network, giving you the peace of mind by letting you track your power meter wherever it is. Plus, you've got up to 800 hours of battery life. We all know that accuracy is key, and 4eyes delivers a groundbreaking plus or minus 1% accuracy thanks to their unique 3D strain gauge technology. For those seeking even more data, the Precision 3 Plus Pro Power Meter offers dual-sided power meter metrics, giving you detailed insights into pedaling efficiency, torque effectiveness, and left-right balance. 4eyes offers versatile product options to suit your needs. Choose from ride-ready power meters with pre-installed units on Shimano cranks, or up for factory-installed power meter where you send in your crankset for a custom installation. Ready to elevate your cycling game? Trust 4eyes Precision 3 Plus Power Meter. Precision, performance, and peace of mind all in one. Learn more by visiting 4iiii.com. That's 4iiii.com. I'm going to put that in the description down below.